Move on though from comic book based stuff to the source material,
Mhm.
um, albeit from a different side of the world. We're going to
Mhm.
talk a little bit about some manhwa or webtoons. It is
Mhm.
the you and Dana got in pretty early, I think, honestly.
Yes.
And definitely, this is, I think, the future of comic books.
Mhm.
We're definitely going to still have this. I feel like
Mhm.
the community is resurging in that. We're going to have uh, manga is still going to be happening. But webtoons is where there's a lot of creativity, a lot of like a wide variety of content, and in a format that is very, very clearly the most accessible.
Mhm.
When you're holding Everett, you can still read this if you
Yep.
want. Good luck trying to flip through this, and not bend
Nope,
something or
she be
whatever.
she be reaching for those pages.
Hmm. So the even manga that I read, it's like a larger, it's too usually not convenient to read on the phone. You want something bigger,
Mhm.
and so the vertical nature of this
Mhm.
is just well realized, and Korea is aware. Everyone makes webtoons, but Korea is the inventor of this kind of thing and is the forefront of it, and they're aware that they are the exporters of a growing, booming thing, and are investing a
Mhm.
lot to support
Mhm.
artists and such in this endeavor. So, anyways, try to be talking a little bit more on the show about some of these that we're currently reading, and we thought we'd give a couple a shot. For this week, we have the first three episodes of The Cliff.
Mhm.
Um, I thought this was new because there weren't many episodes. So I'm like, oh, if people could
Yeah.
follow along on this one. Actually, it's not new at all. There's a short film that's been made out of it, to my understanding.
Mhm. Yep.
It just is short. It's like 10 episodes or something like that. Or nine, it looks like.
Yeah, I, like, scrolled through and was like, "Oh, it's, like, very clearly marked the last episode."
It was like in
I
yeah, it was
missed that on
yeah,
my
yeah,
first, like, flick through. I thought exactly like you did, like, "Oh, 9 episodes, like, oh, great, we'll keep going," and then I was like, "Wait, oops."
yep, yep. So we read the first three. The
Mhm.
Cliff, created by Sung Dae-oh. I I can read Japanese names, okay? Korean, I'm not very good at. So when I say these things, I do apologize for mispronunciation, because it will happen. Summary that the webtoon gives is tensions rise as two men wait for someone to save their lives after falling and getting stranded on the cliffside of a dangerous hiking trail. When days pass with no indication of help, the cliff becomes a stage for confrontation, violence, and madness. So,
Mhm.
yeah, what'd you think?
I love the premise of it. I mean, I read that description, I was like, "Ooh, this is
Yeah.
exciting," like, very intimate setting, very immediate, clear, present danger. You don't
Hmm.
need, like, a huge cast of characters, you just have these, like, 2 guys. So that's what kind of drew me in was, like, the smaller setting and obviously, like, conflict that was coming up out of this,
Hmm.
like, desperate situation. Um, so I love the premise of it. I thought some of the execution was a little clunky, and I get that you only have 9 episodes, but I thought, like, some of the initial, like, explanation was just very, like, smack me in the face, like, a little too
Yeah.
straightforward.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely
And
was.
they continued a little bit into the next couple, but, like, got less, as the story unfolded, but right away, I was just a little like, "Oh, okay. You are just giving me everything."
Yes. It definitely felt like, I don't know. There was a time frame in mind, like, hey, I'm going to knock out this story. I've got this. This is, how can I do this in a concise manner? Because they definitely, and most stories would have spent some time. having them showing the two men hiking, chatting, getting to understand their relationship a little bit,
Mhm.
knowing their names and why they're out there, and like, through conversation and different stuff. And instead we just get like exposition, exposition, it's like bam, 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 bam. I didn't really think of
Mhm.
that until you like said it, but it's totally, they just jumped in there. So clearly
Right.
whatever he wants to explore is
It's
on the cliff.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um
I get that. I it was just a little jarring. I first opened
yeah.
it up.
hmm Yep. Um I liked I thought the art was effective for
Mhm.
what we got. The
Yeah, I
expressions
like
of
that
the
there's no
faces were
color.
good. Yeah, it was like I couldn't tell, I thought maybe there was some color, but it's near colorless if not, and it really sells the bleak outlook that these characters have.
I agree.
And I was thinking, man, why are you hiking with this one guy? Because what a jerk. So Dong-uk is this guy that is
Yes.
immediately, I mean, I understand, and maybe that would have helped. See, again, you're talking about jumping in so quickly because it felt so abrupt that you'd immediately go to like blaming the other person and then hiding the food, and
Yep.
not just hiding the food, making a scene of like, what, you took it. Had to have gone
Yeah.
somewhere else. You took it. And so that's incredibly deceptive. And I feel like that needed to be earned a little more, that
Mhm.
we are desperate, feel that sense of time versus like, I just started reading this and
Right. And it's
you're
like
on your
day 3,
friends.
maybe, I think.
Yeah. hmm
Like,
So
yeah.
yeah, so not a good friend. And it'd be interesting if we explore how they got here, or what their relationship is, how well they know each other. I feel like I know each other a little bit, that you're gonna be just hiking together for 10 days or whatever. So
Right. Right, they're gonna be, like, staying in a cabin for 2
yeah,
weeks, which
right.
here again, I had, like I wish there was a little bit more background or something because, I mean, I get that, like, okay, so you're gonna stay at this cabin for 2 weeks, but you really didn't, like, hike up there without anything but a candy bar? Like, who
Well,
are these people? Are they, like, noobs to, like, staying out in the wilderness? Is the cabin gonna be stocked? Like, and that's what they were planning on, so that's why I didn't bring any supplies. Like, why are they in this particular situation?
I have an answer.
You know what I mean?
So there's
Okay.
one panel at the beginning where what they do, and I noticed this right away. They set up the camera and they drop their bags by the camera to go take the picture.
Oh, I did
So
not
the
see that.
camera's set up. They go out there, fall, all their stuff is up on top.
That I
So
didn't see because I was like, "I don't understand why." But
mhm,
that's a consequence of, like, everything happening in,
zooming
like, such
through,
a rush.
yeah,
Yeah.
because earlier you could have had them be very prepared. You could have been talking about the
Yes.
things you have in your bag. We have all
Exactly.
this
And then
stuff.
and
We've got
then
a compass. We got rope or something.
and then me as the reader is like, "Oh," I'm, like, agonizing for you because you had it all. It's there.
Yeah, right.
And here I'm just sort of like, "So you have a candy bar? Like,
Yep.
who are you people?"
hmm And if this was as you would do in a comic book too, but in a movie for sure, you'd think like you have that moment where it's the foreshadowing where they're walking out to take the picture, and you take a moment where you have a low angle or something, and the
Just looking at
bags are
those bags.
very in the front. Yeah, so you're like, that's
Mhm.
a bad idea. So
Yep.
yeah, so they needed an extra panel for that. But yeah, I thought it was a good start. Um,
Mhm.
it will be over quickly. I imagine I'll probably read the next seven pretty quick. So worth
Yeah.
seeing to the end.
Yeah, it's still interesting. I mean, we ended episode 3 on a literal cliffhanger of, of
Yeah,
survival for both of
yeah.
them in very, very different ways.
hmm
Um, so I mean, I like actually the place that we stopped because I think it made it more intriguing for me to, like, move to the next
Yeah.
episode. Um, so yeah, so I like the premise of this, and I still do, and I still like the setup of human conflict. I just maybe you could have made it 10 episodes and maybe given me just a little bit
Mhm,
more setup.
mhm. Do you think Dong-wook dropped him on purpose? I mean, subconsciously, like a little bit?
Ooh. Like, yeah, a little bit.
Little
'Cause
bit? It's
there was some panic there about
yeah,
the discovery of the chocolate bar.
yeah. Your
Like,
focus
"Oh,
is
shit, what
gone.
are we gonna do?" Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like his dismay was also like, "Oh my god, what have I done?" I feel like that was genuine because
Yeah,
I feel like he kind of maybe knows he's a little bit of an asshole, but I don't think he thought like
right.
I'm a murderer.
I'm gonna yeah, right.
So, yeah. So there's definitely some tension there.
Yep. Well, you mentioned that you like, you've said on the show before,
Mhm.
have sample a little bit sweet, a little bit salty. You want the dark and you
I
want the
want that.
light.
I
You
want
gotta
the balance.
yeah, right. Contrast. So, reverse of this kind of story is maybe meant to be. So
Mhm.
this is actually a new one. There are
Yes.
9 or so episodes presently available with a new one every Friday. And
Mhm.
again, we looked at the first 3, surprisingly meaty. They are longer than I expected or than it seems like a lot that I've read are. So,
Yes.
um summary. Jihan, a 32-year-old freelancer with no work, is tired of her parents nagging her to get married and finally move out. When she runs into her childhood friend, uh, Min Chul Jin, who is also feeling the same pressure from his parents, she blurts out that they should just get married to solve both their problems. Little did she know he'd accept her suggestion, and she suddenly finds herself thrust into marriage, a story of an unexpected romance that'll have you scrolling for more.
Mhm.
Um, Created by Honey Skane. I don't know.
Mhm.
They always pick weird uh, pen names, and Damcho for the
Mhm.
artist, I guess here. So,
Mhm.
what what you think of this?
I think it's super cute. I like it a lot. Um, I kind of like what they do in the beginning episode. Everything's sort of like vague but specific. And what I mean by that is like, so our protagonist Gia is a freelancer of what?
Hmm.
Like they don't specify. So like
Yeah.
later in the series, we could like find out, and it could be interesting. But it's just like, oh, she's a freelancer. She doesn't have work right now, so it's like setting up her specific situation without being specific.
Hmm.
Kind of the same thing. Like we're getting into the specifics of like, our two protagonists are both being pressured about marriage. Somehow it just happens, and it's very vague. Like it just like sort of fast forwards, which
Hmm.
both I think serves the purpose of like our main character being shocked that this is actually happening and not like quite remembering exactly
Yeah.
how it goes, and also sets us up for later in which we could like go back to some of the specifics.
Yep.
The authors can kind of like fill it in later.
Hmm.
So I like this very like teasing, like, you know, things happen in fast forward, but we could like learn more details because this is ongoing. So they could, leave themselves plenty of room to get creative later.
Yep. Yeah. Um, I definitely was wondering, wait, did that just actually happen, or was that an
Absolutely.
imagination of what could happen?
Absolutely. I was
And
sort of like,
so,
is she like fast forwarding like a scenario in her mind, or is this like
yeah.
literally a marriage that's taking place?
And then they
Nope,
summarize the
it's a
next
marriage.
one, and it happened. Yeah, and I
Hilarious.
see you liked it.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Um, I think this is really funny. I I
Mhm.
uh, I was laughing quite a bit. It's has a really like the people you can understand in this story and relate to. I feel like everybody can relates to someone or the scenarios or something. Feeling pressure to be married or like having a sibling
Yep.
that's more you know appreciated than you are, or not feeling
Mhm.
like you have
Farther
someone building
along
your
in, like, the
life.
traditional family life, like, "Oh, I have a
Yeah.
career and marriage and kids," and your parents are like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I have grandkids." Yeah.
All kinds of realistic, down to earth things with the appropriate twist that is crazy enough yet possible. And
Mhm.
it it's obviously it sets up a lot of fun things for us for their to see this couple grow and learn about
Mhm.
each other, and we learn a lot, like how they're
Yeah.
so different in many ways, and that the series does well thus far, even just 3 episodes in, to like start warming our hearts and then
Mhm.
break it with a bit of comedy. And
Right.
I
Right.
think that's great. Like she's like starting to get like, she's reminiscing about their time on the beach and like how this has been. I'm having
Mhm.
such a great time. It's like,
Right.
it's the beginning stages of like maybe falling for the guy and then look over and he's got his dopey eye mask thing on and drooling. And then it's just, it's well portrayed. Um, I
Mhm.
also think the art balance of portraying how they actually look versus
Mhm.
when they're something silly, because some things go
Right.
over the top with this, like in anime terms. Maid Sama, I love that show,
Mhm.
but
Same.
they'll have people be completely different art styles for all the time, back and forth, like from
Mhm.
ridiculous and chibi to normal,
Mhm.
like at a breakneck pace. And that's fine.
Mhm.
But I think I like the balance that this has with the expressiveness
Sure.
and the realism. So,
Sure. I agree with that. Yeah.
um, what else should I say? I'm just enjoying it. Like the characters are crazy enough. Each time I think like maybe she's being unrealistic, it's like, wow, this guy's an idiot. But then it's he's sweet and caring. But I don't know.
Mhm.
It's just well done.
Yeah.
And
They they handle situations well, like, um, how would you just, like, get them to be married? Well, like, kind of rush through it and be vague because,
yeah,
like, how would you describe this in the first episode of, like, this whole, like, logistics thing? "Don't worry about it, we'll come back to it later." "Up, it
yeah,
happened, it's okay."
hmm
Or, they flash forward to, like, their first wedding night on the honeymoon, and it's like, "What are we gonna do here?" And he's like, "Here's some earplugs, I snore, bye." Like,
yeah,
thank you. We didn't have to make it, like, long and drawn out and awkward, and, like, maybe we will at another point in time when, we've gotten to know the characters and it maybe feels more like there's something here. We just,
Mhm.
like, can disarm it for right now, and it's funny
But
and it's sweet, but realistic. Because, like, who would just be like, "Yeah, of course I'm expecting something on our wedding night, like, I've known you for 2 minutes."
yeah.
Nobody.
Mhm. And it's those teases are really what's I hope they can keep those going because they're
Mhm.
selling it. The tease of like, what are you looking for to make our first wedding night special or great? Like what?
Mhm.
And then getting flustered, and then we cut to see the in the shop. There's shopping for clothes, and he's like gonna pick out a bathing suit, and of course the one they show is like a traditional
Yes.
bathing suit, and we cut to that's perfect. And
Yes.
again, the scenario I talked about before, where it's like setting up these expectations for something salacious or something where it's gonna progress the relationship in a way, and then like immediately throwing ice on it, and
Right.
that's just been a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's like throws ice on it, but still paints the character in, like, a positive light.
yeah, yeah,
Like
no one looks
our
stupid.
husband.
They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you like everyone, even though they have their
Yes.
flaws. Yes.
Yes, clearly, yeah.
Mhm. Um, and then I'm just happy that I'm good with the art, because a lot of
Mhm.
different stuff I've
I
tried,
know
I'm
that's
like, I'm
your.
really not. Yeah, it's a sticking point, and I'm really a fan. I think that the characters look good. They look unique enough. They take influences from different places, and I really like the just the color and lighting, but they don't shy away from having like heavy lines for like on
Mhm.
eyes and around your ears and stuff like that. They don't like sometimes things get vague. People are like
Mhm.
worried. I watched a video about a manga artist thing. He had an old drawing as a kid, and it's like, how would I make this drawing now but make her look cuter, like little things. And it's a lot of it's like erase features, make them less
Mhm.
prominent, and sort of thing. And it worked for that style, but
Mhm.
I appreciate this as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, very cute.
yeah.
I like
Mhm.
these 2. I like the balance of them.
Nice. Well, I think we'll have to be finding another dark one soon because
Yeah, no kidding.
down I'll be over it. So,
That's okay.
uh,
There's so much out there.
yeah. And it's also nice to read a story about people that are basically our age.
Mhm.
Again, like
Yes.
again, a lot of times in manga, anyways, a lot we're dealing with 14-year-olds, and when you're
Mhm.
dealing with anyone older, they're like 17.
Yeah.
So to have someone in their 30s,
Yeah. No, I've noticed that a lot about webtoons. They don't shy away from like we're adults now. We're like
Mhm.
late 20s, 30s, even 40s. Like it is nice.
Yeah,
It is nice to just feel like, okay, we can deal with this stage of life too. And
yep,
it can be funny, it can be dramatic, it can be, heartwarming, it can be all the things. Every
yep.
stage of life can be all the things.